Just incredible. What's going on, buddy?
What's going on, brother? Good to see you, my friend.
Man, I mean, my heart this whole time watching you through the screen here, brother. My heart is it got warm, and I just looking at you and just we didn't get a whole lot of time around each other, but the time we had was always instant connection
Same here, brother. I always felt the same way, my friend.
yeah, always nothing but good things to say about me every time I saw you, and I've always had nothing but good thing to say about you, and that's rare
A
in
lot
this
of mutual
business.
friends. Dallas,
Yeah,
Dallas helped me out a lot. Scott Hall, as well as
yeah.
Kevin Nash. So a lot of mutual friends. So that was another connection as well.
So, and of course, it's very easy for me. Anything that is asked that is off the table, just hey man, I'd rather not talk about that.
And nothing's off the table, brother. I'm an
And
open
that's
book.
how I am, brother. Everything's on that I want it on the table.
Me too. Me as well. Yes, sir. Yes,
So
sir.
with that said, where are you at with your life? Where are you at?
I'm okay.
Okay.
I'm 51 years old. I'm unfortunately for the last 6 or 7 months I've been unemployed. I was working as a chef in a pretty successful restaurant here in Connecticut. I still live in Connecticut. Not doing the business anymore. Not because I don't want to, just it's just the opportunity has not really been there for me. As far as substance addiction, I know that's always been an issue for me, and I know fans probably are curious about that. Um, I mean, I'm not in a bad place, but uh, if you believe, and I do sort of believe the AA model that you can't play around with it, and sometimes, unfortunately, I do. I'll have a drink, and I should not. And I struggle with that sometimes. I'm not off the rails by any means, not because I'm special, just because I kind of financially can't. It's a scary place. I think I need to do better. But yeah, that's where I am.
What do you struggle with, Justin? Drinking or substance?
Drinking, just drinking.
Really?
And especially in the restaurant business, it was hard for me.
Yeah.
Being that I was running a kitchen, and a lot of times, when you're running a kitchen, I mean, I cook with white wines and vodkas. Like
Oh wow.
we did a penne alla vodka sauce,
Sure.
fresh, and I'm sitting there mixing it up every day. Sometimes it didn't bother me, at all. But some days, if you're, if something's whatever excuse we used, I know you've been amazingly clean and sober for a long time, and you're doing great,
Thank you.
but you know the deal, man.
I do.
Sometimes you just think like a little bit won't hurt.
Yeah.
um and I know that's wrong, but it's just I'm being frank. I'm being 100% frank.
No, and I love it. I love it. That's what I want. I
You
really
know
do. I I love transparency, and I was very transparent even throughout my use. I was very
Sure,
transparent,
sure.
and I think I skated by
Mhm.
because I never showed up messed up, and
Right, right,
always thought I thought that maybe before I got in trouble I would get a warning,
right.
and that
Yeah,
wasn't the case.
sure.
It was gone before I could fix it, and
Yes.
I always was able to fix it, And all of a sudden, I couldn't fix it, and I'm like,
Right.
whoa, what happened, So
Yeah.
I get it fully. Uh, so about the career, just starting like I love this question because it just to me it's just the most important question. That is, how did you get into wrestling, and who trained you?
Oh, sure. I was a fan ever since. I'll say this quickly as I can to articulate. In 1983, I was just a very small child, and I live in Connecticut. Always has, just where my parents immigrated to from Portugal, and I remember when we had rabbit ears back in the day. We had two TVs. One was like that big color television that stayed in the living room, and I was blessed enough to have a black and white TV with rabbit ears. And we got the local Channel 9 in New York with those rabbit ears, and I saw in a black and white TV Iron Sheik get pinned by Hulk Hogan at the Garden to win the belt. So that was my first intro to pro wrestling, right? You know what I'm saying? And I was just like, oh. Like I was blown away. I was like, holy cow. So, and then it just started from there, though, just fandom. And I graduated high school in 1991, and I was working part time as a bag boy, a clerk at a grocery store. And on my 15-minute break, having a soda, whatever, I went to back then there were the magazines, and I went to the magazine aisle reading like a Pro Wrestling Illustrated. And there was no internet, of course. I didn't know anybody in the business. There was an advertisement in the back of the magazine, Hart Brothers Pro Wrestling Camp. Dare to be great was the motto, and there was a number and the whole thing. So I called. I spoke to Bruce Hart in Calgary. I saved up money, etc. And in the summer of 1992, I bought. I paid them $3,000 back in the day, and a plane ticket to Calgary, Alberta, Canada, which is, I live all the way on the East Coast, all the way up north to Canada. For a summer to learn how to be a pro wrestler. So that's how it was. That's how it started.
Wow. So who
Yeah,
was
it's
hands
wild.
on with you out of that group? Who was hands on?
Lance Storm for the most part,
Lance
because
Storm.
he had gone through camp, the same camp the year before. Like the Hearts would show up, but you know the deal, dude. They'd show up to the hip, give you a couple hip tosses, bump you around a little bit,
And they're
But
out the door.
I mean, dude, it was cool, man. Because you know what, then you being able to, and as the story progresses, able to use that name is what got me in the door.
There's no doubt about it. That's huge.
Yeah, yeah.
So the WWF. So you get trained by the Hart thing.
Yes.
Lance and guys helped you get started and
Yep.
train. And as you know, in this business, nobody really trained you. You watched and you caught on, and
Yep.
you just
Yes,
got
sir.
better by loving it and getting better at it. And
Yes, sir. Yes,
I
sir.
remember for a year pulling away from shows, looking at my wife, going, "Why am I so bad?" Well,
Right.
she's like, "I don't know, man. I mean, it's horrible." It was embarrassing.
Sure.
And then it's like one day I just kind of finally got it. But
Yep.
it's a very tough business, and I don't say that because I'm in it. But as you know, I think it's one of the hardest things to be good at ever. It's a very tough business to be good at. You got to be a little bit of everything,
Yes.
and if you got it all, then you're the best. So when did the WWF? What was your first big call? Was it the WWF?
Yes. Here's exactly what happened. I went back after I did the Hearts. I went to Calgary again because they started a territory where they would wrestle every Friday. So I went up there for about 8 weeks. Got or no, 10 weeks. Excuse me. Got 10 matches under my belt. Worked with Lance Storm, Chris Jericho, a bunch of seasoned veterans. But I was basically paying to play. They're not paying you.
Of
Putting
course.
up rings, taking them down. I had friends over there I could stay with that I'd made through the camp, and then after I ran out of money, pretty much I came back home. I think January of '93, January February '93. I come back to Connecticut. I have no contacts. I don't know any. The Indies weren't what they are today, which is in a way it was probably a good thing. So I remember just hearing the veterans in Calgary talking. So there was a house show for the WWF, a half hour from my home. They always say, well, you should probably show up, if you just introduce yourself and always bring your bag, right? You know the gimmick, always have your bag, kid, you know? So I did exactly that. Just a stupid Mark, 19-year-old kid. And I show up to the old New Haven Coliseum in New Haven, Connecticut, 25 minutes from my house. And I go back there and I met Tony Gurria and Rene Goulet. They were the agents on the card. And I said, Mr. Gurria, sir, my name is PJ Walker, which is my work name. My real name is Polacco. But PJ Polacco or Walker, whatever. I was trained, again, this is where it helped. I was trained by the Hearts. If you need anybody, I'm just introducing myself. I am here. I got my bag, etc. Well, it's a house show, Of course, they didn't need me, whatever. But at the end of the show, I said, "Sir, thank you for letting me stay backstage and watch the show. It's a real honor. If you ever need me, whatever." And Tony Gurria goes, "Well, as a matter of fact, we're starting a new show in Manhattan called Monday Night Raw. We need some extras. So here's my card, and I'll be calling you." So Raw was starting up in Manhattan, and they would be doing it all, weekly or whatever, however the schedule was. And I'm only an hour and a half drive from so it was kind of like, right place, right time, geographically as well, right? So and then I got booked on Raw, and slowly, but my first match was against our good friend Lex Luger, as a matter of fact, when he was the narcissist live on television. Lex was amazing to me, very kind. But that's how the ball rolled. And again, I think I did it enough, and I did it for about a year and a half, 2 years, that in '94 they offered me a contract. You know,
Wow. Great.
just persistence. But again, I think location helped because business was bad at those days for WWE. Vince had the steroid trial. They were cutting back. So all the TVs were very local to Stamford. And again, I didn't mean to come to Connecticut. I was born and raised here. My mom and dad, I always been in Connecticut. So all of that factored in. You know what I mean? Like everything lined up. But then it wasn't by
Absolutely.
choice. It wasn't by choice. It just happened to happen. You know?
I believe it. I've done this with several people before. And I think at first they try to say it's another way, but if they really play it out, what we do in life picks us.
Yes, sir.
And,
Yes,
and,
sir.
and I mean, and it truly does.
Yes,
You'll
sir.
first say, "Oh no, I did this," but if you play the tape all the way through,
Yeah.
I've never presented this to somebody and then proved me wrong on it. Picked you, and that's what this business does, or that's what life does, I think. But
Yes, sir.
so Lex was your very first TV match,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The narcissist Lex Luger against PJ Walker.
and it was PJ Walker.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I
Yeah. It
love
was
it. What
great. It
was,
was great.
what was your outfit?
Shawn Michaels was a hot heel, so it was a
Absolutely.
Shawn Michaels kind of rip off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just I mean, I was in good shape. I was 6 foot 220 as all as a kid, and I was all gassed up.
Of course.
But Lex was just he was such a specimen, man, and
He was.
he cut a promo on me. It was such an honor because I was such a Lex Luger fan,
Of
and
course.
it's so scary though, especially with such little experience when you go in there. And back then, you didn't get in the rings like today. Everybody does. I hear rehearsals and this and that. And I'm like, rehearsals.
Yeah. What's
I'm like,
that?
dude, I stepped in the ring just to kind of get my bearings, like, because their rings. I mean, I know they're pretty big.
No,
You
I
know.
really don't know. And I went to school for a week, and it's a big difference, brother.
Yes, yeah, they're big rings, and so I just stepped in there to kind of run the ropes and get my bearings. And back then, you got in the ring, and they're like, "What's this Mark doing in the ring?" Almost like there's still that big kayfabe. Like, what is he doing in the ring? You
Right.
know? And it was so intimidating. And boy, man, it was something else. I mean, even though it was that small Manhattan Center, but you got Vince McMahon and Macho Man at ringside commentating. It was just, but that stuff back then, I think, was more conducive than it is today to Bill. Like Vince, I knew Vince before I got signed. He would know your name. He would, passing in the hallway. Like nowadays, it's like so weird and different. It's hard to build that personal. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Then it was just a little more intimate, not as much
Yeah.
craziness going on. But anyways, I digress.
The WCW guys, I mean, we were truly a family. Like people will say, "Well,
Sure, yeah. Oh yeah.
who did you not get along with?" And I'll go, and I go, God, believe it or not, I said, "There's nobody. There's nobody where
Yeah.
you didn't see. I mean, I saw 2 or 3 fights the whole 10 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was a lot tighter group than the WWF was. I really do think so. You had clicks up there, but there really wasn't clicks at
Yeah.
WCW. It was like we were under, and the reason why I believe is because we were under contract, and so it
Yes.
wasn't that all in trying to work together, and the first match matters about the last match. It didn't matter. We were under contract, and
Correct.
but
Correct.
I remember the day talking about the in the ring rehearsals. There was certain guys, and not saying no names because I just want to do that, because it's not a negative thing, it's a positive thing. But there's certain guys that would always put their boots and their knee pads on and go out before the show and warm up and get in the ring and do their thing. And there was the guys that didn't do that. Like you're never going to see Lex Luger put his knee
Right.
pads on and go practice before the show. And not that I'm nowhere near a Lex Luger, I'm not, but neither was I. If
Right.
my character, one time Eric Bischoff came back and we had a new ramp, and the emblem on the ramp was slippery. So you wanted everybody to go out and look at the thing so you didn't come out and fall.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So all the guys get up and they start following Eric outside. And I sit there and Eric goes, Bagwell, what are you doing? I said, I don't need to look at it. He goes, yeah, you do, smart ass. He goes, you need to come look at it. I said, bro, I said, if I fall, I'm going to make it cool. I said, I'm going to do whatever happens. I said, I'm going to go down the ramp like I always do. And if something happens, I'm going to make it part of Buff Bagwell.
You're going to roll with it and make it part of the deal.
And he went, wow, I like that. So same thing within the ring.
Yes.
I didn't want to do that. So playing it back, and I swear I think I forgot about this because I've never, maybe once have I talked about what I'm getting ready to say, but I don't think Chase has ever heard this. And that is, one day Vince McMahon had a meeting with the 11 or 12 guys that was first hired. Mm-hmm. And I remember him saying, I want you guys to do what you do. We want you guys to be yourselves, to be happy, and we don't want you to put a face on. We don't want you to be fake. We want you guys to be, on the team, but at the same time, we want y'all to be comfortable. Do what you do. We left that meeting, and 10 guys went to the ring for rehearsal. And I have to go, oh boy. Now, if I get in that ring, 10 guys know that I'm lying and I am trying to fit in. And if I would have, if that would have saved me a job, of course I would have done it. But at the same time, I'm going, well, Vince just told me to be myself. He sounded awful serious.
Right.
So what do I do here? So I'm watching the guys in the ring and I'm going, oh my God, what do I do? And it was such a tug of war, but I didn't get in the ring.
Yeah.
And I really think, playing it back, that probably cost me a job, But again, I think costing me, it ain't worth it. But it was just so against what I was trying to do. I didn't want to go in there and make all those guys uncomfortable. Like, what are you doing out here, Bagwell? You don't do this.
Yeah.
So it was a tough thing, but the rehearsal thing, I think it was part of losing me a job.
Well, I mean, you never know, but I think guys like yourself, guys like myself. I mean, I'm not comparing myself to anyone but look, Steve Austin couldn't rehearse what he does.
No.
That's just a quick one-off. The Rock couldn't rehearse what he does.
No.
The point being, and I'm not comparing myself or anybody to anybody, but I've been in the business long enough. Just between '94 when I got hired to '97, before my ECW run, that's funny enough. I didn't mean to do this, but when I was just Aldo, mid-card jobber, I worked. We were doing so many house shows, double shots. I was working 250, 300 days a year in the ring. And I think, unfortunately, just a quick sidebar, that's what the AEW kids need is those reps.
They do.
In football, you need those reps.
Yes.
I got those reps. Listen, I'm not saying I was great, but to me, I can't duplicate or do what I do if I'm out there rehearsing. I can't, because these guys would literally be like, I'll give you 3 punches, shoot you off. If I'm out there thinking of all of this, I can't do anything else. I can't be me. I can't, whatever it may be, fire up. I can't be creative. Right. Just like an improvisational actor.
Sure.
And that's just me, but not everybody has that level of experience. I get it. But I think that stuff, like as you said, it just hinders performance, man. And I think we're caught in this thing where it's like, well, wrestling isn't as good as it was then. Well, there's a lot of reasons for that, and they're very good. They're better than I was athletically. These guys are amazing athletes, but there's still that little thing, and that little thing is the magic that happens that you can't predict. You know what I mean? What you guys did with in WCW, you couldn't predict it. You just did it, and I think that's what's necessary today.
I do too. I think you're right about that for sure.
Crazy.
So, tell me some of the names, and I get asked this a lot too on what's your favorite match and all that. Yeah. I don't want to ask that, but maybe in a second. But I want to know, your top 10 biggest names you wrestled. Who was that?
Oh, geez. I would say Steve Austin. Definitely, I did a bunch of did about 15 matches with him.
Really?
Yeah, right before he was Stone Cold.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, we and it's funny. I'd go up to Steve and I'd be like, Steve, what are we doing? Call in the ring, kid. Sometimes, and this is when he was starting to hit the stunner as the ringmaster. So sometimes we'd go, he'd face off, talk some smack, hit me, kick stunner, hit me with the thing. Other nights we'd go 20, if he felt like it, we'd go 20 minutes,
Right.
bumping him around. So we had a lot of fun, man. He was a great guy. I worked with Mark, the Undertaker, several times.
Great.
Batista, gee,
Do you have a favorite
favorite wrestler?
match?
Oh, favorite match? Yes, sir, I do.
Do you?
Um, it was an ECW. I actually highly considered one of the best pay per view matches in ECW. As they say, I'm not saying it. It's just what I hear. Myself and Jerry Lynn, 1998 Heat Wave pay per view. We sold out the Hair Arena, and we were the opening match, and it was an amazing match. So Jerry Lynn, definitely one of my favorites. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I saw Jerry Lynn wrestle a match, and I don't know what year it was, but it was some three-way thing
Yeah.
that with God, my brain's gone dead with AJ Styles, and
Okay. Yep.
it ended with AJ and Jerry Lynn. And I really, in my life, in my 55 years of life, it was the best match I had ever seen. I'd ever seen. Jerry Lynn is definitely one of the best. There's no
Yes,
doubt.
sir. I mean, working with him is he's easy. He doesn't hurt you. And
Good attitude.
his that when you go into a match, and people don't understand this, when you go into a match knowing you're not going to get hurt, unless I mean freak stuff happens, but
Right.
you're not getting potatoed. You're going out there loose and you comfortable. You open up and you're wow,
Yes.
this could be fun, man. We could have a good time.
It,
Not worrying about getting, you know what I mean. Some
sure.
guys, and he was that guy, and he was very giving and creative, and just a pleasure. Good stuff. I loved it. I loved it.
It's and such a good guy. Good
Yes,
human being.
yes. One of the good ones, and I'm glad he's got his spot in AEW because he, if anybody deserves it, it's definitely Jerry for
Yeah,
sure.
he definitely does.
Yeah,
So
man.
this other question I got for you is I've never even heard of it before, and I'm really interested in it. So, is it true that you were at the WWF and that you got traded to ECW?
Yes, sir. Yep.
Walk me
Yep.
through that.
Yeah, it was summer. Yeah, about summer of '97. I had been Aldo Montoya for close to 3 years, about 2.5 years, and I was doing okay. And Vince was very good about keeping me on the road. They were trying this new generation thing, and again, like I said back then, you could have a relationship with Vince. I booked a meeting in Stamford to speak to him in his office, and I did. And I said, "Look, Vince, because I was kind of feeling myself in a positive way. I was coming into my own. I've been on the road for years. I was really starting to get a groove working, I was stealing the show in a lot of ways because I was a young kid working with guys like Chris Candido, who was also young, like just kind of tearing it up, like bringing that new style into the foray
Nice.
of the WWE, which nobody was really doing at the time.
No.
So I was like, look, I think I want to progress. I want to do more. It wasn't about money or anything. It's just about, I'd like a little bit of something different. And he's like, well, because and also at the time, to be honest with you, Scott and Kev had just jumped, and I was very close. I was friends with Kevin, but very close with Scott Hall. He was one of my best friends. And he's like, look, if you can get released from your deal, I can't guarantee you get a push or anything, but at least we get you paid. I'm like, okay, word,
Okay.
because I was struggling. I was making 72 grand a year, and
On the
expenses
road.
intact. That's nothing. That's a regular job, right?
Yeah.
And I just had gotten married, etc. The whole deal.
Right.
So, and Vince said no to that. He goes, no, no, So, anyways, so he sent me to Memphis for 6 weeks. They were going to train or let me learn how to work as a heel while they subsidized, and Vince did pay me while I was in Memphis. And Paul Lee was down there. Paul Heyman was down there. working with Lawler doing an angle, saw me and went to Vince. Well, he came to me first and said, "Would you be interested in ECW?" I said, isn't that blood and like that weird stuff? I'm not into that.
Right.
He goes, no, no. He goes, we do that, but we also have, athletic style wrestling like lucha libre. Like we have all kinds of wrestling, basically, is what he's telling
Sure.
me. And it was true. I didn't know that. So I said, sure, Paul, whatever. So he went to Vince, and yeah, and then I went to, my contract rolled over to ECW, but I didn't know at the time, and I know it now to be true, that Vince was subsidizing the deal the whole time, pretty much.
What do you mean subsidizing the deal?
He was giving Paul money to keep ECW alive,
Oh, okay. So it was
which
just
is
kind of
fine. But
fun.
they were. It was almost like an NXT before NXT, if that makes any sense. Not
Makes total sense.
necessarily. It was its own entity, but you know what I mean. It was. There was agreements there, like it was, feed me your better guys, and I'll keep floating you some money, keep you alive.
Well, cool. Were you at that junction? Were you happy with the trade?
I was ecstatic, bro.
Oh, right. Oh, great.
Yeah, no, I really was. Because at that time, especially being a Northeast guy, I mean, ECW was it was hip, it was a cool thing, and it was almost like I don't know, it's like it was punk rock. It was like it was the cool kids, and I was doing. They were doing such interesting stuff, and I was a young man. I was like 23, 24 still. So I was like, I have time. And the crowds were great. The money wasn't. Dude, towards the end of ECW, I was getting 2,500 a week guaranteed to work Friday and Saturday. And I live in Connecticut, and most of the stuff was Northeast. So hey, that's not a bad. You know what I mean? If you think about it, I would kill for that today.
So would I.
And so I was making good money, and
Right.
and being treated as you have your own input. I felt good. I was putting out my best work as far as I was
You
concerned.
felt like like you mattered.
Yes, sir. And if I called Heyman, he was there. We could
Yeah.
discuss things, and I wasn't a pain in the ass. I did what I was told. But if I had a thing,
He was
I could
there.
pitch it. Yeah, it was. I never had that before, so to me,
Right.
it was an amazing experience. Let's just say it was really cool, really positive, dude. It's really nice. And again, it was so much fun, so much fun.
Well, I remember
Nobody.
seeing you guys, because we were the
Yeah,
underdogs at the
yeah,
WWF, and
yep,
then here we were coming, and so it was fun to see you guys coming. Now there's because keep in mind, that's business for all of us,
yes,
and that's three doors now instead of just two
that's awesome.
doors, and
Yeah,
so it was good for everybody, So
yep.
we're rooting for you guys, and then I remember PJ, I remember being on a private jet with Eric Bischoff, and we were putting the WWF out of business.
Yeah.
It was a fake Kevin Nash and a fake
Right.
Scott Hall,
Yep, that's right.
and we couldn't believe what was going on. But we're
Yeah,
having to high five Eric, but really we're going, oh, this ain't good,
it's
guys.
not good. Yeah,
This is horrible. But yeah, way to go. We got him again, Eric, and because we love Eric.
of
But we
course. Yeah,
knew down deep that that wasn't good. It was
right.
not a good thing that the WWF goes out of business. And
Correct.
before we knew it, we were working for the WWF.
Yeah, that was.
Crazy.
Yeah, and that was the craziest thing. Not to jump, but man, when if you think about it, 6 months apart, there were three viable companies, and after that, then there was one. That was a wild time, bro.
It
And
was
we
crazy.
we both got lucky enough. I landed there, even though I was just there for a cup of coffee for a year and a half. You landed there too,
Yeah.
but man, it was a scary time, bro. And that railroaded, I think, all of our career. It railroaded mine. My career never really recovered after
I'm
that.
telling you that
You know?
that took some lives away,
Oh,
not just careers. It ended
lives.
some lives, brother.
Yes,
And
sir. It's
and again,
crazy.
it's not the blame for it, but it's just the
No.
situation that happened. Definitely is responsible for some lives.
If you think about it, let's just say, and I don't know the numbers, I'm just spitballing. Let's say there are 200 full time jobs in professional wrestling. Let's just say, I don't know if that's accurate, but just spitballing. We go from 200 a week, 2 weeks. Now we have 100, maybe 75. And these are
fifty
good
percent
people. These are good people.
good
You
people.
know, ECW employed a lot of people. I know it's not as big, of course, as a WCW, but it's still, there were a lot of, big, it was just nuts, man. It was nuts.
It
And
was.
whoever could jump onto the fucking life raft of WWE, but then even if you did, it was so oversaturated and
Yeah.
it did such a shit job handling it that
Yeah.
we were all lost in it. So it was the shits all over, man. It
Damn
was
if you
all
do,
over.
damn if you don't. You know.
Yeah, we all did the best we could, but that was a real. It took a while for wrestling to recover from that. It really
So
did.
it did take a while. You know, I talk about this a lot, and a lot of people, I've never heard anybody else talk about it. So I want to see what you think about this.
Sure.
I remember it was the WCW getting bought by the WWF. And within a very short period of time, the WWF loses the F
Yes.
to the World Wildlife Fund,
Yep.
and there's no more WCW, and UFC starts. And
Uh,
wrestling got really lost there, man. It got
yeah.
really lost because on a golf course, everybody knew the WWF. Nobody knew WCW, and there was no third.
Yeah.
So it was just every once in a while somebody would know the WWF, but all of a sudden you take that F out and it's WWE. And
Yeah.
and what happened to that WCW one? You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
it was very confusing. And then I think it really helped. Not that
Yeah.
they needed it, but it
Yeah.
really helped them get started with the UFC because there wasn't as near as much wrestling on
Yeah.
television.
Yeah. No, I mean, it went from almost oversaturation to what the
Where's it
hell?
at?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was a very crazy time, man. Very
It
weird
was.
time. Yeah.
So
But,
are you completely done with the business?
oh no, this is I wasn't. I don't even think I was 30 yet. I
No, I'm
was
saying
probably.
right now. Where are you at
Oh,
right
right
now?
now. Oh no, I mean, but just being realistic, bro. I take bookings if offered. I would gladly do. I mean, I'm 51 years old. I have no injuries. Knock on wood, whatever. I'm healthy. I'm overweight a little, but I'm healthy. I don't have any physical problems. I could work if I wanted to. Work pretty good actually if I wanted to. If I got in shape. But I just not much comes my way. There's so much out there,
There is.
that's the thing. There's so many good people that I think just incredible is and some of it through some doings of myself, just is not a very attracted, like ECW guys who cares what happened 20 years ago. Nobody
Right.
really, you know what I mean? So,
Sure.
I
Well,
take it.
if somebody was wanting to get in touch with Justin, do you have an email address or a
Oh,
contact
of
they can
course, yeah, I
Justin?
got everything. Yeah.
And then tell
Um,
us what it is.
Sure. My email is Polaco, Polaco, Polaco Peter 73 at gmail.com. On X, I'm at PJ Polaco, Instagram at PJ Polaco as well. So I answer all DMs, Instagram messages, emails, etc. So I'm always available.
Even with you talking throughout this interview,
Sure.
PJ, what I've noticed that was a big help for you, and I noticed it because it was what was a big help for me is your attitude, and you're able to communicate well by going to them and saying, "Hey, I'm here if you need anything," and then thanking them when it was over, and not doing that because you had to. You did it because you wanted to,
Sure.
and that kind of attitude in this business um, was special, and that's what that locker room etiquette, man, is. It's a lot. It's a big
Yeah.
deal.
Yes,
And
sir.
so that was definitely part of your success of staying in the business as long as you did, is because of your locker room etiquette and just being a good person, man.
Thank you, man. That means a lot. Yes, sir. I
Yes.
appreciate that. Yes, sir.
Well, what's I mean this in 2025 when you wake up in the morning, what are you got a goal you're shooting for? What's your plans in 2025?
I'm just, and this is going to sound so unsexy, but it's just reality. I wake up every morning. I'm just looking for full-time work in the restaurant industry right now. It's something I'm very good at, something I have a lot of experience in as a cook, as a chef. And just rolling through that, just trying to get full-time employment. It's been a little rough, man. So I'm just trying to do that. And if bookings become available, I would love to have an idea. I mean, there's a lot of things I could do. I'm not very good at production, but something to get me more wrestling bookings. That's still a work in progress, but I'll be looking into something like that to just kind of raise my value in the pro wrestling independent market pretty soon. Whether it's a podcast, I just hate to say podcast because everybody's doing one, but maybe some YouTube or TikTok in tutorials. I had a tutorial that was very successful on YouTube called Pro Wrestling 101. I'm thinking about maybe bringing it back if I could find like somebody to help me produce them because I'm not very
Sure.
good at production side, but just something to raise my value in that way. And but that's about it. Pretty simple living, bro.
Well, I can tell you by doing this right here tonight on our channel, uh, that's fantastic because
Yeah, man.
a lot of people will see this. They've got your
Yes, sir.
connection, they
Yep.
got your contact, and now we know as
Yes.
well. We know
Yeah, yeah.
I got a lot of people calling me and going, "Hey, what do you?" And your name doesn't come across, but now it will.
Yes.
So thank you for doing the interview,
Oh, it's my pleasure, man. I love talk. I can talk to you forever, bro.
me too, brother. I love you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, brother. And
And good luck with your family. I hope everybody's good and healthy.
everybody's
And
good.
just,
Yes, sir.
I'm glad you're healthy and I'm glad you're good. And hey, brother, and my number is, Chase will get it to you. Please give my contact. I'm right here anytime, brother. I return every phone call because that's just the way I roll. So I
Thank you.
love you and thank you for doing this for
I
us.
love you too. Thank you, Chase, as well, buddy. I really appreciate your help today.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely,
All
PJ.
right,
Just
guys.
incredible.
God bless you, man. Have a great night.